Hi everyone, Peter here. Welcome. We share real stories from real people. Let's start with the first story. Am I the asshole for not trying harder to inform my ex that our son had passed away? Let me start by saying that both my partner M and I, F, were 28 years old when I discovered I was pregnant. We had been together for 4 solid years, building what I thought was a stable and committed relationship. But everything changed in ways I could never have anticipated. To be completely honest, having a child was not something I desired at that point in my life. My career was on an upward trajectory, offering potential advancements that I had worked tirelessly for, and I was incredibly excited about the future that was unfolding before me. The thought of starting a family seemed like a massive derailment from the path I had envisioned for myself. But after countless deep conversations and debates, filled with tears, doubts, and hopes, we eventually decided to go through with the pregnancy. I'd convinced myself that we were making a joint decision, that we were in this together, but how wrong I was. Everything seemed fine until I hit the 20-week mark. That's when we found out the baby's gender. A moment that was supposed to bring us closer, a moment that many couples cherish. But for me, it marked the beginning of the end. Shortly after that, he vanished. Just like that, he was gone. No warning, no explanations. It was as if he had disappeared off the face of the earth. I was in shock. How could someone who was supposed to be my partner in life, the father of our unborn child, just walk away? I was frantic, trying to reach him, but my calls went unanswered. My messages were ignored. I was left in a state of panic and confusion, my mind racing with a million different scenarios, each more terrifying than the last. Desperate for answers, I reached out to his mother, hoping she could shed some light on what was happening. That's when I learned the cold, hard truth: he had moved back in with her. He was overwhelmed by the situation, unable to cope with the reality of becoming a father. The man who had once promised to be there for me, to stand by my side through thick and thin, had retreated into the safety of his mother's home, leaving me to face this alone. I felt betrayed, abandoned, and utterly heartbroken. Despite everything, he continued to send money, paying a portion of his bills into my bank account each month, as if that was supposed to make up for his absence. But not a single word from him. No calls, no texts, nothing. It was as if he had cut me out of his life entirely, leaving me to deal with the overwhelming emotions and physical changes that come with pregnancy on my own. I was devastated, but I still held on to a shred of hope that he would come to his senses, that he would realize what he was missing and return to me. But as the weeks passed and my pregnancy progressed, that hope began to fade. By the time I reached 27 weeks, I was emotionally drained. I'd cried all the tears I could cry, and I finally accepted the harsh reality. I was going to be a single mother. I made the difficult decision to stop trying to reach him. It was clear that he had made his choice, and now I had to make mine. I focused on preparing for the arrival of my baby, buying all the necessary items, and getting everything ready for the new life I would soon bring into the world. It was a bittersweet process, filled with moments of joy and sadness, as I imagined the future that lay ahead. At 31 weeks, I began to experience pain, but I dismissed it as Braxton Hicks contractions, a normal part of pregnancy. However, just before I hit 32 weeks, my water broke unexpectedly, sending me into early labor. Panic set in as I rushed to the hospital, where my son was born far too soon. The labor was swift, too swift, and before I knew it, my tiny baby boy was whisked away to the NICU, his fragile life hanging in the balance. I was terrified, my heart breaking as I looked at my helpless child, connected to tubes and machines, fighting for every breath. In the midst of my fear and exhaustion, I once again reached out to my ex and his mother, desperately trying to let them know what was happening. I called and texted, leaving voicemails, pleading for them to respond. But just like before, I was met with silence. Not a single word from either of them. It was as if they had completely erased me and our son from their lives. Less than a week later, my worst nightmare became a reality. My son passed away due to complications from his premature birth. The pain I felt in that moment was indescribable. I'd lost the most precious thing in my life, and I was completely and utterly alone. In my grief, I tried one last time to contact my ex and his mother, leaving them voicemails and sending messages that went unanswered. It was as if they didn't care, as if the life and death of our son meant nothing to them. I was shattered. The weeks that followed were a blur of sorrow and numbness. My parents, bless their hearts, stepped in to help me arrange the funeral, as I was too broken to handle it on my own. They too tried to contact my ex and his mother, hoping to give them the opportunity to say goodbye to their grandson. But once again, their efforts were in vain. There was no response, no acknowledgement, nothing. It was as if they had disappeared completely. At that point, I assumed that maybe we had been blocked, but honestly, I didn't care anymore. I was too deep in my grief to be concerned with their indifference. The funeral came and went. It was a beautiful, heartbreaking ceremony that I will never forget. Saying goodbye to my son was the hardest thing I have ever had to do. After the funeral, I made the decision to stop reaching out to my ex and his family. I couldn't take it anymore. The constant rejection, the silence, it was too much for me to bear. I told my family to stop trying as well. We had done everything we could to inform them, and they had chosen to ignore us. I needed to focus on healing, on trying to find some way to move forward. 5 months later, out of the blue, my ex showed up at my doorstep. I was taken aback, unsure of how to react. I wasn't home at the time, but when I returned, I was met with hostility. He immediately noticed that the apartment was not set up for a child, that there were no signs of a baby living there. His anger was palpable as he demanded to see his son. It was in that moment that I broke down, the weight of everything that had happened crashing down on me. Through tears, I told him the truth. I told him that our son had died. I had never seen him so angry, so full of rage. He stormed out of the apartment, slamming the door behind him, leaving me standing there, shattered. Within half an hour, the phone calls and messages started pouring in. His mother, his siblings, his entire family, they were furious with me. How dare I not inform them of something so serious? How could I keep something like this from them, all because of what they deemed a petty grievance? Their words cut deep, accusing me of being heartless, of deliberately withholding the truth from them out of spite. But what they didn't understand, what they refused to acknowledge, was that I had tried. I had tried so hard to let them know, but I couldn't keep trying. I was drowning in my own grief, struggling to keep my head above water. I had lost my son too. I was in so much pain, and yet they expected me to do more, to go above and beyond to accommodate their needs, their feelings. It was too much. The following weeks were a nightmare. The anger, the accusations, it was relentless. My sister, who had always been my rock, my confidante, added to my pain. She told me that not continuing to try was a terrible move, that they deserved to know that I had failed them by not making more of an effort. Her words stung, and I began to question myself. Was I the asshole? Should I have done more? Could I have tried harder? But deep down, I knew the truth. I had done everything I could. I had tried to reach out to inform them, but they had chosen to ignore me, to abandon me in my time of need. I was grieving, I was broken, and I couldn't keep pushing myself beyond my limits. Edit, I want to take a moment to thank everyone who has taken the time to read and respond to my post. Your feedback means the world to me. I'm sorry that I haven't replied to any of your comments, but please know that I have read them, and they have brought me a great deal of comfort. Honestly, I plan to drown my sorrows in a bottle or two of wine tonight, reread your kind responses, and cry myself to sleep. Writing all of this out, reliving it, it's been incredibly hard. But it's also been cathartic, a way to begin the healing process. Unfortunately, I can't change the locks on my apartment, my landlord won't allow it, but my lease ends on June 12th, and I have already secured a new apartment to move into. Thankfully, my dad has been able to cover the cost of a private therapist, and I will be seeing her again on Tuesday. Thank you all so much, from the bottom of my heart, for your kind words and support. It means more to me than I can express. Second edit. If I had known this post would gain so much attention, I probably would have posted it on my main account. Lewis, if you're reading this, take a moment to really absorb what I've written here. Read it again. Then read the comments. Then leave me alone. I've had enough. To everyone else, thank you for your comments and advice. I plan to show this post to my therapist during our next session and talk through it with her, but honestly, just writing it all down has helped more than I could have imagined. Even though I've cried a lot, it's been a release that I desperately needed. I'm going to bed now, and I don't plan on revisiting this post again. But thank you, all of you, for your kindness. Update. 2.5 months later. My previous post was locked, but I received a few messages asking how I've been doing. So before I completely step away from this account, I wanted to give a final update. I'm doing okay. The move went smoothly, and I'm now living far enough away that there's no chance of running into my ex or his family. I changed my phone number and deleted all of my social media accounts, so I haven't heard a peep from them in about 6 weeks. My sister has apologized for what she said, and we've had a lot of conversations about everything that happened. Our relationship isn't the same as it was before, but we're working on it. I still hear from mutual friends that they're talking behind my back, spreading rumors, but I try to ignore it. I've been focusing on my therapy and doing my best to move forward with my life. I visit my son's grave whenever I can, and thankfully, my ex and his family have shown no interest in finding out where he's buried, so I'm able to grieve in peace. Thank you to everyone who reached out with words of support and kindness. Your comments have meant more to me than I can express. I found myself revisiting the previous post many times over the past few months, and it has been a source of comfort during some very dark times. I'm going to step away from this account now, but I want to say one last thank you. Related comment. Commenter, can you explain what your sister said and what she was thinking at the time? OOP, my dad was furious when he found out what my sister had said to me, and he didn't hold back in letting her know how wrong she was. She told me that she didn't realize how much we had tried to contact my ex and his family. She thought that, just like when I was pregnant, I had decided to cut him out of my life and do everything on my own. But honestly, that explanation feels like bullshit to me. My parents were there with me every step of the way, supporting me through the worst time of my life. My sister wasn't completely absent. She knew we had called and messaged them multiple times. Her apology seemed sincere, and since then, she hasn't had anything positive to say about my ex or his family. If anyone's going to get angry with them, it'll be her, but my dad has advised us to just let it go and let them self-destruct. Final update, 8 months later. I almost forgot about Reddit until I was clearing out some apps on my phone to free up space. I figured I'd give one last update before I delete the app for good. I wish I could say everything has been great, that I'm thriving, that I've moved on and found happiness. But the truth is, life has been anything but exciting. I moved into my new apartment last year, and while it's a nice place, I forgot how expensive it is to live on my own. But I'm managing. I finally got a new job. Not much has changed in terms of pay or position, but at least my ex doesn't know where I work now. He never showed up at my old job or anything dramatic like that. I just wanted a fresh start, and this new job, along with my new apartment, has given me that. I haven't started dating again. I just don't have it in me right now. The wounds are still too fresh, and I'm still trying to heal from everything that's happened. As for my sister, we're low contact. She apologized, but according to my mom, she still occasionally talks to my ex. There's no dramatic, Reddit-worthy plot twist, just that my sister will talk to him if they run into each other. But after everything that's happened, it still hurts. I'm still in therapy, and I actually increased the frequency of my sessions around the 1-year anniversary of my son's death. Thankfully, my ex hasn't shown up at his grave, or at least not when I've been there. I don't want to get into too much detail, but it's been rough. The pain is still there, and sometimes it feels overwhelming. There were days when I would visit his grave, then come home and spend days in bed, crying, unable to function. My dad has been my rock through all of this. He's been there for me in ways that I can never repay. I'm still paying him back for all the help he's given me financially, even though he waves it off when I tell him I'm going to pay X amount this month. I know it's been a strain on him. We have this Sunday morning ritual where we just sit together, drink tea, chat, and sometimes watch F1. It's one of the few bright spots in my life right now, and I cherish our time together. But overall, life has been pretty boring. No contact with my ex or his family, no major changes, no exciting new developments. Just one foot in front of the other, trying to move forward. I've reread everything I posted last year, along with all the comments, and I just want to say thank you again. I was in a really dark place mentally, and it was hard to see that I wasn't the villain in this story. The combination of therapy and all the support from you guys has helped me more than I can put into words. So, thank you. Goodbye.